Hi, my name is Gil Robertson, president of the African American Film Critics Association. Today we have an absolute real treat for you. We are talking to the one and only Miss Angela Bassett, star of Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. We're going to kick things off by introducing you to our AAFCA members who are on the call today, starting with our facilitator, Miss Katia Woods in Philadelphia, Anthony White in New York, New York, Janita Davis in Denver, Colorado, Carolyn Hines in Toronto, Canada, Reggie Pounder in Chicago, Ray Cornelius in Atlanta, Emmanuel Noyesette in Chicago, and Rhonda Rasha Penrice in Atlanta. We're also about to be joined by the one and only Miss Ruth Carter to also talk about her work and contributions to the movie. I'm going to let you guys do what you do so well, and I will see you on the other side.
No woman, no cry. No woman, no cry. Ee, little darling, don't shed no tear. No woman, no cry. Good friends we have, and good friends we've lost along the way. In this great future, you can't forget your past. So dry your tears, I say.
I'm Janita Davis of the Black Cape, and I'm going to start us off with the first question about the first scene, my favorite of the movie. I want to ask both of you, Ms. Bassett and Ms. Carter, when you were putting together the concept for this powerhouse scene where you have these powerful women that were making this statement, what was the idea or the theme that you were going for with the costuming? And for Ms. Bassett, what did it feel like to have that moment when you were all standing like shoulder to shoulder? You know, what was that like? Because it was powerful for me. So
Well, I think well, it started with Ruthie. I mean, you had to have it initially, creatively, to come up with it. And it for me, and perhaps for the others, the sort of gravity and beauty and regalness and power that it imbued happened exponentially when I arrived to the set that day. Of course, it happened for me singularly in the costume room when we were trying out ideas. You know, Ruth, you had your idea, you had the color, I think it started with a Muslim. It was just a Muslim fabric, you know. It's all
had a Muslim finish.
It's a crocus sack. I mean, you looking up shapes and this sort of thing. But even then, there's some excitement because my girl has this amazing idea that's coming, and this is just phase one for me. And then the second time to when it's actually been actualized, realized in all its splendor. But even then, Ruth continues to embellish and grow. So it's an exciting process. And then when we're actually in the room with the set pieces, we've got the Dora coming in. I've never seen them in gray. That was the first time I've seen them in that color. So that was, you know, they arrive at the UN looking differently than I see them at home, you know, in the room. And then we had the other element of the guys, you know, of the security, the guys with that beautiful headpiece that they wore. I mean, I was just thrilled as I looked around that day because so much was new. And then of course, to look at what I had on. So together you actually felt from the costumes, from the regality, the power in the room, you know, and it just added to the moment, to all the words that I had worked on at home in my lone room by myself. And then it's like, I have all of this backing me up.
Oh, yeah. And we love backing you up, Angie. We love, because Angela Bassett brings it. And you better be ready for her. I can think of so many times through our journeys together where Angela is super prepared and she has intention and she has stacked the deck. So you don't prepare for any of her scenes without being as intentional, doing as much research as you can. You know you are dressing someone who is beautiful, who is regal, who can carry the most, you know, she's wearing this ishikolo on her head, you know, it's huge. And she's able to walk into the room and carry it. So sky's the limit. Design your heart away, because this woman she's gonna come and she's gonna carry it. And what happens in that transformation process in the fitting room is Angela stands in the mirror and she holds the costume and she looks at herself, and you get a sense of how she's going to portray this character before actually it's even in front of the camera. So it also gives you clues to how to bring more details in. We don't always have the earrings and the necklaces decided on and the rings, and we're basically working from the base. And this particular costume that she enters in, we discussed with Ryan Coogler in pre-production. For me, it was planned in another place when she confronts Namor at the palace. And Nate Moore and Ryan Coogler said, we have a sketch of it in front of us. And Ryan is smiling and he says, let's give her that in the UN. And that's not something typically you would think of entering the UN, but they laughed when they thought about it. And they said, this is gonna be perfect for the UN. And I was like, the UN, this is this other moment. But it worked, and what it did was it showed that she was not only what we knew as the Queen of Wakanda, now she is the ruler of Wakanda. And she gave us all of that in her performance. So, you know, I'm just thrilled that together we could collaborate and come up with something that worked for the storytelling, it worked for the actress, and it just worked for the costume.
That's exciting, because when we're in that room initially, you know, out in the valley somewhere, we're trying on the Muslim, you know, mock-up, and all these ideas, you know, you had an array of things. I mean, we were there for hours, an array of things, and I don't know where exactly some of the pieces are going, you know, what scene actually it will live in. But, you know, in that moment, I'm just trying to live in it. And I just have such, you know, as Ruth alluded to, we worked together. What is it, 5 times?
Yep, 5 films, five roles. I've counted over 200 costumes.
Really?
I did a little homework and I said, how Stella Got Her Groove Back had a ton of costumes in it. And so did What's Love Got to Do with It. So that's where I stacked up my numbers. But can you imagine, Angie, we have gone through 200 costumes together?
Oh my gosh, I feel so blessed. And each and every time I feel so confident, and comfortable because, I have not a care in the world,
Well, you're such a professional, and that's where I'm blessed because I don't get an actress in the room who's like, oh, I only wear this color, or I only want to be seen, I would love my stylist to come in and give us the blessing, I don't get that,
No.
we talk about character. Angela is theatrically trained, and we do it in the way that it's supposed to be done, in my opinion.
Yeah. I believe in the gifts that others have. I do what I do. I believe in others' gift. I believe that Ruthie is gifted from above to do this. So it really truly is about collaboration, me entering the room, being excited about what's about to happen.
Yes.
And then and the character wearing it. It's not Angela then. It's not about Angela. It's about that character and it working.
And we have fun. I think we have fun. We have fun. We're familiar with each other, so it's an easy room. I remember when you first came in as Queen Ramonda, and I was like, Queen Ramonda. You were like, I'm thinking about maybe a different pronunciation for the name, maybe a Ramonda. Maybe. So we have fun.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Oh, that was just one question, wasn't it?
Just the first one.
Get ready, long answers.
Hey, good afternoon. I'm Anthony with the Movie Blog. Thank you guys so much for your time. This movie is heavy, at least to me. The King T'Challa, that character dies off screen at the beginning of the movie, and your character doesn't survive this movie either. And I think I heard that you initially didn't want your character to die in this film, and eventually Ryan convinced you that death is not the end. Now, I know why I didn't want that fate for your character. I'm still mourning the passing of my own mother. But can you talk about the message of acceptance and how you processed your character's passing in this film? Was that something that weighed on you?
Oh, I think, let's see. I had just fallen, I think a lot of the audience that have expressed to me how they feel about it. I even have a friend who's a dear friend who's like, I haven't seen the movie yet because I hear what happens to you. And I'm like, but it's a great movie. I do a good job up to that point. But because I love, the franchise, the movie, I'm thrilled with the world, with the opportunity. I, of course, when I read this, I was just like, literally shocked. I was like, what? I was just so, I was heartbroken also, as some of the audience was. I just fell in love with this woman and her love for her children and for her people and for her community and her nation. And, for a lot of number of years in my career, I said, I want to play a queen, have that opportunity. And finally, it's like it was actualized. It came to be. And now, all right, it's not going to be anymore. But and a part of it also is it might be ego. Why kill my character? Why do you kill the heart of the movie? But it's not like I haven't had that experience before in another movie I did. It was like, it's the it's a storyline, and now the daughter really has something that she's up against and something she has to fight through and grow into, as a young woman without her mother there. So yeah, I wasn't thrilled, as the actor to see that. But I'm as the actor, I'm there to serve the story and to serve the director and his vision. They say film is the director's medium. So I'm ultimately there to serve that. And again, as I said with the costumes, it's not about Angela, it's about the character. So I had to make peace with that. Of course, like let you know, I'm not thrilled with it, Ryan. But ultimately, I trust him as a filmmaker, as a man, as a friend, as just one of the most glorious people I've ever had the opportunity to work with. And I'm going to, be on board with what he's doing. But yeah, so that's how I felt.
And the cool thing about, I think, what happens in the Marvel universe, they can bring people back, they do flashbacks. There's always some kind of way that they recraft a story's origin, and I don't think that her death is the last that we will see of her. And that's just a guess.
That gave me some comfort. When you said that. And actually, when we were doing the ADR, it's like I'm in the plane. I'm in the astral plane. Like I'm so excited,
Yeah, astral plane.
Our producer was, on Zoom, and we were in the room, and I was like,
oh, that's hysterical.
Being silly, and just to let him know, I'm team Wakanda always.
Hello, my name is Emmanuel Noisette. I'm from E-Man's Movie Reviews out here in Chicago. My question is for Your Highness, Queen Mother Bassett. Of course, losing Chadwick was obviously a major emotional loss for everyone, from cast, crew, to fans across the world. Then losing T'Challa in the movie was almost like another gut punch right there. But Ms. Bassett, you also mentioned that in a previous interview, you shot some scenes with the young man Divine, aka Prince T'Challa, that didn't make it into the movie for, of course, other reasons, for the surprise factor. But can you talk about what it was like filming a scene with him, knowing what he was intended for as being, the continuation of T'Challa's legacy?
Yeah, it was very special. We were there in Puerto Rico shooting those scenes, and literally, like Chadwick, little Divine, he is, as his name. He's such a special little spirit, and you can feel it. He's very young. What, he's like 6, and usually they have boys have a lot of energy and a lot of testosterone, and they're jumping around, and you have to calm them down. This child is so calm and so focused and so present, and his face is so angelic, and those eyes, you just want to you just want to take him with you. You just want one of your own, just like him. He's so special, and to know that he was, little T'Challa, he's as special as Chadwick, and for them to have found a little boy to sort of, hold those same, or some of the, what you sense, or some of those same qualities, or that same specialness as the character, and as the man, the friend that we knew and worked with. It was like a dream. Yeah, so I enjoyed those moments with him, and you got so emotional in the scene. It wasn't difficult at all to look in his eyes and be completely there and recognize just the beauty and the gravity and the love of that moment.
Thank you.
I am Katia Woods with Couple Social and the Philadelphia Tribune. Ms. Carter, my question is for you. For the costuming of the Tenacnil people, I'm from Brazil. They reminded me very much of the indigenous people of the Amazons, especially the headdresses. Can you talk a little bit about what your research process was and how did you come? Because I think those headpieces alone deserve you all the accolades because it was so close to the real thing. It was very eerie.
Oh, thank you. I mean, it was challenging. It was the biggest challenge, I think, of the whole film, to make sure that we represented the different layers of this indigenous inspiration of the Mayans. And we started with Mesoamerica and learning as much as we could in a very broad sense. And then we collaborated with historians like Dr. Adana, who brought us into like the sphere of the Mayans and the community that we were going to represent and the time period that we were going to represent. And a lot of the Aztec references that we had just went away because they weren't as big an empire as the Aztecs once we started being specific about the Mayans, because there is that historic anchor in the film where we see the origin story of Namor. And that had to be historically accurate. And then we go underwater and we create this sub-reality with the Tolacaneals, which is based on the knowledge that we have of the Mayans, but also utilizing everything within their new world and their new environment in the ocean. So we consulted with oceanographers and people who we were like, what's on the bottom of the ocean? What's down there? And it was like bones, bones and more bones, and a lot of coral that transforms and regenerates. So we took, like with Namor's headdress, our clues from the Kukulkan, the pyramid in Chichen Itza, and it has this long stairwell that comes down to the bottom of the pyramid, and along that stairwell on both sides is the feathered serpent, and it's etched with all of these all of this texture all the way, up and down this pyramid, and the mouth at the bottom of this stairwell is open, and the open mouth faces the cenote, so it faces the water. And so we created Namor's neck piece based on Kukulkan, the pyramids, the feathered serpent, and the pearl in the center of his neck piece represents the water. So we have the open mouth of the serpent, and we have the pearl in the center representing the water. And references like that, even though we go down, and Atuma is created by a guy named Joss Nizzi, who put the hammerhead shark on his head. That was something Ryan Coogler really wanted. And when he saw the sketch, Ryan was like, hands down, we knew we could check the box on that one. And the headdress for Namora, which is based on the lionfish. And a lionfish is generally just about the size of your hand. It's not a very big fish, I think they only get as big as 8 inches. So why does she have these huge fins on her neck, on her headpiece? And we discussed that we didn't want to send out the message that they were, harvesting fish and using the fins. We wanted them to be seen as also a community that has vibranium, their own vibranium. They have their own technology, so they could actually honor who they live beside in the water and create these beautiful lionfish fins in any size and any form that they wanted to, because the Mayans used rubber. They created a ball out of rubber, and back in post-classic Mayan times, so why not? And that's where we collected all of our information, and there are hundreds of people that weigh into what we are going to present. There's illustrators, there's people, executives, but the bottom line is Ryan Coogler's vision and what he sees and what he gets excited about. And then we go through the process of building it.
Once again, phenomenal.
Thank you.
Hi, ladies. Caroline First, or Here's What Happened podcast. Thank you so much for your work in these 2 films, in the first Black Panther film and then this Wakanda Forever. And one of the things that I love about the work that both you, Angela, and Ruth have been doing is you're showing the evolution of these characters through your work. For Angela, we have the evolution of Ramonda, where she, as in Wakanda Forever, she's not only a grieving mother and a grieving wife, but she's also coming into her own, as we saw, as a leader and as a politician, as well as a mediator, because she has to work with the different tribes. And that was something we didn't get to see with the beginning, with the first film. But then also she has to deal with the challenge of an adversary in Namor, played by Tenoch Huerta. And something that I thought was really interesting is how, Ruth, you interpret her interactions with different characters in her costuming. So when she is as a politician, as a leader, like a lot of her clothes are heavy materials. There's like velvet, there's like, like heavy cotton and linen, and they're dark colors. But then I noticed in the scenes with Namor, they're usually kind of like white or like tans or grays or like pearlescent colors, and she's wrapped a lot, like almost like she's covering herself in armor. So Angela, I want you to talk a bit about the evolution of Ramonda as a queen and as a mother, and then as a politician and as someone who has to face an adversary for the very first time, and as a man who doesn't give her any leeway. Like Namor straight up tells her, you have to do this. Like, I'm not giving you like too many ultimatums. And he challenges her. And I love that she gets challenged that way. And for you, Ruth, talk about creating the costumes and doing the interpretation of who Ramonda is as a character through her costuming. Angela, we can go with you first.
Well, Ramonda, she's been in the council, she's been close to power, literally seated next to her son, of course, her husband who was killed early on. So I think she's been in this world and has an understanding of the dynamics of it. I mean, that's how you see the history of this character. And then just as as a woman navigating in this space with others, and there are other women in the room also, so who have a voice, mature women, with the character played by Miss Dorothy, so it's not a room full of men, it's a room of respect and of various perspectives and the female perspective. And I think also just being a mother, knowing when to lean in, when to give way, when to be quiet, when to just listen, hear, and when to come back, when not to show all your cards. We see that with her daughter, with her, and with the elders, giving others voice and opportunity to speak, and listening, it was about taking wise counsel. So with Namor, this is a different situation that she has to navigate, and the stakes are, incredibly high, at this moment. But I think she's using the natural, using the natural poise that she possesses, and not showing, there's concern, but not fear. And basically, as a mother, she's going to do what's necessary to get her daughter home safely. I don't think she, growing up and being a part of a nation that is Black and brilliant and excellent and smart. So this is a new scenario that she has to navigate, but I think she has confidence that she can and that she will, and and trying to be as strategic and smart about it as she can, using the resources and the people that she has, meaning, Nakia in this sense, in this instance, and also getting the counsel of those around her, fish man.
Mm-hmm. So relationships and the way that they are portrayed with costume design. I've had the incredible opportunity to dress Angela and those relationships on many films. And I've seen Angela go toe-to-toe with Denzel Washington. And as they called cut, I saw him react to the scene. And So when I'm reading the script and I see that there's a relationship that we are building between Queen Ramonda and Namor, I'm assured that Angela is going to present herself in the commanding position, in the position that she's given in this script of being the Queen of Wakanda. So there's like several costume things that have been revealed. One is Angela's arms are legendary. And you know, Peloton sales go up every time she appears on camera with those arms out. So, so I say that to say that having her arms out is a way of communicating vulnerability, beauty, confidence, womanhood, strength, power. Also, we did a lot of one shoulder dresses. You see the Dora Milaje, they carry the casket with the exposed arm. Angela wears her vibranium dress, the silver dress with one arm exposed. And she sits on the former king's throne, which is also a vibranium throne. It's very big. And the way that we wanted to communicate, you know, her ability to hold this position was to keep that color, the color of the dress and the color of the throne are all one piece. She embodies that throne, and she's also seen there with one shoulder exposed, again, beauty, power, vulnerability, all of those things, I think, play into the subconscious. As far as, you know, heavyweight and lightweight, sometimes there's a little subconscious work that's happening. I don't feel like it was intentional, but when you see the funeral procession and you see Shuri wearing the big heavy tusks earrings, you can think the same with Ramonda entering the UN and heavy velvets. They are carrying the weight of this new responsibility, and it's heavy. When she goes to the beach and she's wearing her cape, she's also wearing the Queen's version of chest piece and armor. And we chose that color because it was going to be beautiful on the beach, basically like a peach and silver, but it also has a silver vibranium crown, the ishikolo she's wearing. And we wanted her to feel protected. And that's why the weight of that cape and the design of that cape and the armor piece that she's wearing on her chest were important for confronting Namor.
Ray Cornelius with Upfront inside the entertainment industry. Happy New Year, everyone. My question is for Miss Angela Bassett. Gosh, we're talking about scenes. The scene where Queen Ramonda confronts the General Okoye, and I hope I'm saying her name correctly, Denai Guerrera's character, powerful. I mean, I literally was trying to, and social media has me messed up sometimes. I try to swipe and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not swiping on a phone. I'm trying to swipe times back because that was such a powerful moment. Can we talk about filming that and how you prepare for that? Because that, to me, I was like, she needs an Oscar nomination just on that scene alone.
Preparing for that scene, literally reading it, you could sense the power in that moment. So at that point, when you're home before you even, head to filming or whatever. So a couple of, weeks or a month or so before, just working technically with Beth, who is our dialect coach. So working with that, because previously, when you work with dialect coach, a lot of coach, they're there and there's a lot of coming to you in between, as they say, cut and stuff like that. And that can be, well, for me, it can be a little distracting. So I want to get as much of that sort of under my belt. So you just have it, just the technical part. being done with that. So you could just lean into and be available to the moment, to the emotions, to your other actors in the scene, whatever they were given or presenting to the room, whatever it was going to look like, whoever was going to occupy that room. You don't know, I don't know. So having that out of the way. And that day I was wearing, again, another one of my favorite costumes, that red beaded. It's beaded, it has gold copper threads through it. It's just magnificent. I think an artisan who told me from India.
Yes, we had that dress made in India. The guy is JJ Valaya, and
like,
that's a whole long story.
all over the world. This woman sourced all over the world, But so I love that. I love the color red. I feel powerful in it. It's one of my favorite colors to wear. And so to have that on, you felt queen that day, but also powerful, but in this moment, so vulnerable, because you're talking about your baby, and just remembering this not being initially what I wanted for Shuri to go away, that I thought was in her best interest, but trusting absolutely Okoye, who serves the country and the crown, the crown, with all her heart and soul, so it's but it's about that daughter in that moment, that child in that moment. And I'm supposed to be the wise mother. She's supposed to be the wise general. And look at the predicament that we found ourselves. That day, the throne room is just, it's just a beautiful place. Hannah Beachlar, production designer sister, with the throne, with the red clay of the floor, with the glass, where we ultimately can see through to the kingdom, that lays below us, and out of the back windows, we can see out to the kingdom, and the Dora standing, flanking around the room, and all the council there, and in walk the Jabari tribe. So it's an additional Dora Milaje, so it's filled with people. It's an audience, and to have those words, it felt like theater there, and it felt, a lot of times, there's that saying, in film, like less is more. This was that situation where it was just mother, lion, love, and less was not more. You were, I was literally, the emotions were just right there, as a mother, portraying a mother, the love that I feel for Shuri, the relationships that we have, off screen as well, or for any child, I have a heart for, and for them, any child to be in any particular danger. It's, just Angela, have a heart for that. So it was just mother lion, roaring at that moment. And it was a hard decision that must be done. And and to recall, as she said, where, you have a husband, you have a husband, you can find him, and I can't find mine. And, of course, losing your son and now the daughter, it was like, as sometimes you have been graceful, sometimes you have made allowances and given inches, but sometimes enough is enough, and for Ramonda, it was this moment, I'm running, cowering for safety. All these, I've lost my husband and my son, and it says, if in that moment she's as overwhelmed as she's ever been allowed to show, allow herself to show others.
Thank you. I could have laughed at that. I was like, that right there was like, I was like, y'all could stop the film, start it back so I could see that part again, because it was so powerful. Thank you.
Thank you. It was a fun scene to play, just as an actor, it was a fun scene to play that day. And I had a good time. And yeah.
I'm Reggie Ponder, the Real Critic out of Chicago. And I really want to ask both of you a question, but I have my colleagues behind me, so I'm be respectful and just ask you, Angela. And my question is, you have to do a tribute to Ruth Carter. And I'd like for you to tell me, what does Ruth Carter mean to you, mean to this franchise as an artist, as a storyteller, and from a Black pride perspective?
Ruth Carter to me is absolute genius and love. I mean, she's so easy to be with. I mean, I can't imagine, as brilliant as she is and as easy as she is, she could treat us all like peons. She's amazing. She's absolutely amazing. And if you were, I'm getting chills now. If you went into the warehouse or her command central for this movie, for the first movie, I was thoroughly impressed. If you went to her command central where she's making her magic with her army of dedicated, loyal, beloved folk along with her, you would bow down. You would praise God. You throw your hands up and you would bow down. She is marvelous, but she's there working with you. And with this franchise, no, I don't think it could happen. It could never have happened in this way without her. Never. With her,
Thank you,
and
Angela.
many of the other artists like her who are equally brilliant in their own lane, sphere, and female at that. Oh my gosh. Ryan's a smart guy. He's a smart man. And he just the opportunity. I mean, I read somewhere when someone said, I have never gotten goosebumps looking at the costumes gave, audience member goosebumps, because, the actors do what they do, the set does with it, the director, the lighting, and it's just a piece of the whole that's so integral and so important and just so magnificent, that we understand the importance of the costumer, and what it can mean, in a production in the whole. So that's how I feel about her. And on top of that, she is just, and on top of that, in the center of that, in the face of that, she is just the loveliest, kindest, grounded person that you could ever want to meet. And she knows how to party too.
Don't forget that. Thank you, Angie.
Thank you so much, Angela. Thank you.
I could wax on and wax on about her.
Yeah, I gotta do a turnabout.
I wanted to ask you that, but I know Rhonda and Ruben are behind us.
My name is Ruben Peralta from Costa Rica. I'm Afro-Latino, and the first movie mean a lot for many countries, not just in America. And now this second movie, you guys, the whole team had a different culture. Now we see Namor and a different new culture. What do you guys think, like in culturally meaning, do you understand how important is these movies, not just as a superhero movies, it's just also as a culture speaking expression, because it's just not in one country, it's worldwide. That's the difference, I think, on the other Marvel movies. It can stay in one place. But these two movies, it means different for many people, because I think it cross borders, not just with the costume design, not just because Chadwick meant something for many people, still mean something for many people. It's about what they represent. And I would love to hear what you think about it.
And we absolutely agree with you, and we understand it empirically. We under what this movie and the character of Namor and the world created, means in terms of its representation of Latin people. It's I remember being on the set working with Tenoch when he's about to throw the water bombs. That was the first scene that I worked with him, and him just having to take a moment on set in front of the whole crew and just say, this means so much and thank you, and his gratefulness and gratitude. And we could just smile because we understand it. We were in that same position a couple of years before and saw how and felt how that representation was received. So we understood that, yes, it's about to happen again. It's about to happen, in a very, significant, visceral way for him. And that we could do this together, show these, have this strong, equal and researched with as much respect and love representation, because people who have maybe not been seen can see others and have that appreciation. We understand it, with our whole hearts and mind, so a full measure of devotion was brought to it for that very reason.
I think when I was, first made aware that we would bring in this indigenous culture, this Latin culture to the film, I was so excited. I couldn't help but think that we would make the same impact that we did with the first Black Panther on African American and the diaspora with, the Latinx community, and that it was so important for us when we did the first film that we dissected Africa, and we showed different tribes, and we showed the truth and honesty in the dress, and we honored the culture, and we redirected the way that people thought about beauty, beauty standards. And I went at this with the same mindset that I had so much to learn. I had to depend on the experts to tell us what was the truth, because there's so much information in paintings and things like that that will that have been tainted, by the Spaniards, or that show you them conquering, or them what they call civilizing, this community, and they're all very much curated by the colonizers. And so getting to things like the Dresden Codex and getting to the Janus pottery, where these paintings existed that really showed you the truth about how they lived, what was in their communities. Even it showed you fabrics and drapes and headpieces and prints. I had so much to pick from, and I was super excited. And I there's so much in this film that's on the cutting room floor that wowed me, even, to take some of these ideas and then put them in water. We had a 20-foot tank of water that people are swimming around in with headdresses and big clay beads on their necks. But it was exciting to, actually, have a voice about another culture and another community that we hoped would be excited about what we were doing, because we attempted to do it so well and so right.
A lot of times when you're doing these movies, you read some of these scripts, with the antagonist, it's that they're just only there to serve, the story, and the protagonist, it's like they're like afterthought, and just like just a swash of color, but no detail. But in this, it was, definitely about the detail. And I think that comes from Ryan, being writer, and the trust that Marvel has in him and his ability and his respect for all people. You know,
Yes.
everyone has a story, and I think that's exactly that's the, you know, the detail that was put in it is shows that.
Yeah, we use these, we made hundreds of ear flares. You know, the ear flare is worn on the ear. It's a little jade piece. It has a stem in the center, and all of the architecture and sculptures, and they all have these ear flares, and it's kind of a way of communicating. It's a communication to the gods. It's a, you know, it was such an important element to me that if one of the Tolacaneals or even the Mayans didn't have them, they weren't finished. So you know, we had them on with glue. We had them on with magnets. We, you know, if I could have sewn them on, I would have sewn them on. But it meant a lot to me.
I like really appreciate it, and Ruth, you did your research. Like,
thank you.
Like Latin people is really appreciated for that.
Awesome.
Hi, thank you guys both. I'm Rhonda. I just wanted to ask a question, especially for you, Ruth, but also Angela, please weigh in on the process of working with Hannah Beachler. Like, how does that work from your perspective? I just wanted a little bit of insight.
We do a lot of talking. We talk like best friends. We talk every day. When she finds something interesting, she sends it to me. When I find something interesting, I send it to her. We share books, we share information. If she doesn't like something, she calls me first and she bitches about it. And then I get on a soapbox and I start bitching about it. And then together we go to Ryan, and Ryan usually sorts it out for us. So we are sisters, and we are artists, and we are passionate. The one thing I think that describes Hannah Beachler is passion, and she is incredibly smart. You gotta read, read to like maybe even have that conversation with Hannah, because she's so smart. I don't know how she retains all that information that she has up in that head, but she does, and she's an expert. And I love that, you know, she loves the collaboration process. She has come into my office, like Angela said, with all of the things. I'll have Dogon masks hanging up. I'll have Ndebele, I'll have Lesotho blankets. And she'll just lay down on her back on the floor and just like, just be in joy of, you know, having access to, you know, the actual items. So coming together with her and looking at her set designs, we did, you know, you have to remember, we started this project in the middle of a global pandemic, pre-vaccine. We were all on Zoom calls. Hannah would have a special day that she would present all of her sets. And then those set designs are made available to me afterwards. And then I would have a day that I would present costumes along with Marvel's visual development department. We would work on the same day, and we would all, just like this Zoom, talk about everything that we are sharing. And we were sharing some of those most incredible art that I think the world should, you know, eventually see when they do a book, because there were designs for you know, hovercraft that you never got. You know, there were designs for a depot where people got on the train and off the train, and what that looked like, and the citizens of Wakanda that would be a part of that depot. And just having all of those conversations about how Wakanda works, how it works underwater. I mean, she built a sun that you never saw that is underwater. There's like so much art that goes into creating the production design. I have to stay in step with her, not behind her, not ahead of her, but in step with her, so I know how to fill those sets with people.
Just amazing.
The two of them truly amazing, amazing. Every word by Hannah, absolutely true. Now you stay in step with her. I'm a step behind her. Because when I get to the set, she's nowhere around, because
she's working on the next thing coming up.
Ahead of me. She's ahead of us. She's gone on. So any opportunity I got to look around, and she might be there, it's like, Oh my,
Yes,
I would
yes,
just hug her up. Oh,
yes.
she also makes me just so proud. So
Mhm.
proud to be an artist and a woman and a Black woman.
Yes.
She is
Mhm.
amazing with she's a petite thing, but she is powerful.
Powerful. Yeah, when she did the Sacred Grove, I remember walking through the woods, and she was like, Ruth, what do you think? And I was like not sure which way to turn because it's built in the middle of the woods, it's a little grove. It's a little grove. And then when I saw the burial place, she was sitting there just meditative and extremely, thankful, grateful. And just before everybody else, before there were cameras, before there was Ryan, she was just with her assistant. And I walked to the set because it was gonna rain and I had everybody in white and I wanted to see which path they were gonna be coming up. But then I ran into Hannah and she was like, Ruth, here's the grove.
Between the two of them, they just create the whole world for us, makes it so much easier when we show up. You're so inspired and you just come alive in an additional way because of
Yeah, and then they take it on. The actors do their thing and we step back and watch the world work.
Yeah, we're grateful.
Angela and Ruth, amazing. We thank you so much for your time. Both of you are former winners of AAFCA awards, and I have a suspicion we may have a treat in store for you when we announce next week. On behalf of the world's largest group of Black film and TV critics, thank you for watching this edition of AAFCA Roundtables, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Thank you, Gil.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.